Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Zappy here, back again with Chainsaw Man Season 1. We're on Episode 2, and in the first episode, it was kind of almost like a prologue strictly for the character, like how he became Chainsaw Man, I feel like. I don't think it was really a setup in terms of like where the story's going, other than the fact that he's been picked up by public safety. I think that is the obvious one, like they're going to like look after him and whatever, and he's going to join them as like, you know, devil hunters or whatnot. But in terms of like everything with like the Yakuza, and you know, he owes like 38 million, like he's like 38 million in debt, he's sold his kidney, his eye, his bollock, like all of that is pretty much concluded like within that first episode. I feel like, you know, I mean, I guess the Yakuza could come back, but I feel like that was kind of one and done. I think that's kind of like the whole thing with like, you know, him selling his body parts and whatnot. All of that, like all of his body parts have been regenerated. Seem like, I mean, I would suspect so. I don't think it was just his eye, you know. So I feel like all of that came previously is kind of done, and we don't have to worry about all of that anymore. I don't know. There may be some people in the Yakuza who know about Denji and whatnot, and then, you know, they're going to send people after him. I don't know, but I feel like the way that it felt was like that was it. Like that's that side of his life done, and now he's on to that side of life with his dream and everything that he's always wanted. You know, which is a very humble dream of just basically, you know, having a girlfriend to play video games with and eating, you know, jam and bread and stuff. You know, he's going to get all that. So yeah, but it was really fun. Really enjoyed the first episode. Really incredible animation. Again, another show that has really, really cool animation. And just like the premise. I mean, his like sort of, I don't know what you would call it, his outfit, or his devil form, I suppose. Really, really cool. And yeah, it is grotesque, and I love it, you know what I mean? Chopping up zombies and shit like that is always a fun time. I mean, I don't think we're going to get probably any more zombies, unfortunately. Because, you know, like the whole devils and everything like that, they seem to be, I talked about it last week, like anything and everything. So, you know, I doubt they're going to rehash and go back to another zombie devil kind of thing. But it was fun while it lasted, and it's a great sort of opener to you know, to see Chainsaw Man going up against the one thing that is like the most fun thing to chop up with a chainsaw, zombies, right? So yeah, that was fun. Yeah, so I think everything was pretty much wrapped, like that was brought up in episode 1 was almost wrapped up. Like the heart disease thing, I feel like, well, that's no longer an issue anymore. You know, Pochita, I think, is the one thing that like I don't know, like I'm split on whether or not he can turn back up again. I feel like probably not, unfortunately. I feel like that whole thing where they merged, you know, that was like their one time where they could like talk and whatnot, and like that's Pochita sacrificing himself. So I don't think there's going to be like a conversation that you can get, you know, like anytime he, basically, like I don't think you can have a conversation with Pochita like anytime he wants in his own head. But I don't know. I'm kind of split on it. It might happen. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, I think we'll just get straight in episode 2 and see what we get. So as always, the reaction will be here on YouTube, but if for whatever reason it gets taken down for copyright in the future, I will re-upload this as a discussion only video, and the reaction will be in the description below. As always, a link to the full-length reaction to this episode is in the description below as well, so if you do want to watch my full-length reaction to this episode and not just the cut 10-minute version, then the offer is there for you. But nothing else to really talk about, so we are going to get in episode 2 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go.
デンジ君はこれから私に飼われることになります。返事ははいかワンだけ。いいえなんていう犬はいらない。
Woof.
人を犬扱いしやがってよ。
But you know, oh, Pochita.
あと半裸じゃ目立つからこれ着な。
Dreams are coming true. Bloody hell, slow down, dude. Already. I'm gonna hazard a guess that in this episode we're gonna meet some new people.
デンジ君。
すみません。チェーンソーで自分の体も切れちゃって。血出すぎて貧血なるみたいっす。
Okay, so the chainsaws actually cut him up.
君の状態は歴史的に見ても前例がとても少ないよ。
So that, what, is he like the only one then?
体から人と悪魔、2つの匂いがするもん。
Like a devil human hybrid. I wonder because his chainsaws specifically on his arms, kind of go through his arms. So I wonder if that's where he's losing the blood from when he's in there. But it does put a limit on like how long he can do it.
食べれません。
はい。
Oh my god. He took full advantage of that. She's got him wrapped around her finger.
マキマ、デンジ君みたいな人。
What?
デンジ君。
Well, like submissive? This made me wonder if Makima's a bit of a sadist. He's in his own little world here.
ここがデビルハンター東京本部だよ。
Okay.
うちは基本制服だからこれ着てね。着替えたら君の同僚に合わせるから。
Okay.
彼の
He's
名
got a
前
sword.
は早川亜希。
Aki.
デンジ君より3年先輩。
Hayakawa.
マキマさん。
This guy.
君の働きぶりが良ければ一緒に仕事できるよ。
Aki is jealous. I wonder if he likes her too. Oh, Jesus Christ! I was gonna freaking come out and say, does he sense something? But Jesus.
軽い気持ちで仕事するやつは死ぬぜ。俺の同僚も給料だけ見てデビルハンターになったやつは全員悪魔に殺されたよ。お前さ、マキマさん目当てでデビルハンター。
Okay, so he's actually got a reason for this.
ピ
And
ン
it's,
ポーン。
but he keeps being treated like trash. And oh fucking hell!
俺は
Jesus
喧嘩するだけ。
fucking hell! He's gonna have nothing left. He's not gonna let this go now.
初めて飯食わせてもらった。この生活続けるためだったら死んでもいいぜ。
I can't believe this guy can stand up. He took about 6 hard blows to the bollocks. So there is a bit of. Oh, for God's sake! Stop it!
先輩が金玉の悪魔に玉を襲われました。
The devil.
嘘です。
Ridiculous.
デンジ君は早川君の部隊に入ってもらう。他じゃ見ないような実験的な体制で動かしてみる。
Experimental. Okay. I guess
こい
it.
つ何者なんですか？
デンジ君は人間だけど悪魔になる
Aki
こと
doesn't
が
know
できるん
this.
だ。
I guess it.
だから特別な対応で扱うことになりました。
Yeah, I mean it means that he fits with the
辞職したり
experimental unit,
違
I'd
反行
imagine.
動があった場合、デンジ君は悪魔として処分されます。死ぬまで一緒に働こうってこと。
Yeah.
じゃあいい人なのか？
いい人に決まってる。俺の命の恩人だ。
Okay.
もう一回抱きてえな。
It's all he ever thinks about, man.
シナモンも
Oh my god, he's throwing this all on
最強の
one.
パンができちまったぜ。
God. It's such an overload.
わーわー
This guy's a
わー
pain.
わー
Oh god. Aki's gonna be sick of his life.
長いんだよ。
Oh my god. He's used up all of the. Oh. Connected with public safety.
魔人って何？
人の死体を乗っ取った悪魔。それが魔人だ。
Is that not similar to what happened last episode?
魔人は頭の形状が特徴的だ。
Oh Jesus. Okay.
なって力を見せてみろ。それで使えるもんかどうか判断する。
Oh. He didn't even have to turn it to chainsaw man.
俺の力使ってで悪魔を殺すとよ。それでなんか楽に殺してやりたくて。
俺の家族は全員目の前で悪魔
Oh
に殺された。
Jesus.
お前以外全員本気なんだよ。お前は悪魔と仲良しにでもなりたいのか？
友達になれる悪魔
I
が
mean,
いたら
he made friends with Pochita, didn't he?
俺友達いねえもん。本当はエロ本に血つけたくなかっただけなのに。
Oh, for fuck's sake.
チートビチって汚れちまうからな。俺はもう夢にゴールしちまってるからな。あいつはまだ
Their dreams are so like different. Like Denji's is so simple,
風
you
呂も
know.
毎日入
Like
る。
that's his dream is like to live a normal life. It's not
面
even.
のいい女も近くにいて。
He needs like a
あいつは
goal,
きっと
like an end
復讐
goal.
的なあれだ。あいつらは
Yeah, I
家
think
族
so.
を守ること。ねえ、揉んでみて。
God's sake, man.
今のまともな仕事してる俺ならやるんじゃねえか。
God, you can't have
い
this
きなり
a
女だ
serious
けの俺
goal.
には難しい。見つけたぜ。俺の本気。俺のゴール。
That scene was well planted.
胸だ。
Ridiculous.
バディ？
気をつけてね。彼女は魔人だから。
She's a fiend.
ひげ伏せ人間 しの名はパワーバディとやらはうぬか
Okay.
魔人は悪魔と同じ駆除対象なんだけど、パワーちゃんは理性が高いから早川くんの隊に入れてみたんだ。
Yeah, this is...
結果が出せなかったらすぐにでも上の方々が解体しちゃうかもしれない。
I see. As long as they have control
パ
of
ワ
them, I
ーちゃん
guess.
は頭の角が目立つから人通りの少ない場所だけパトロールすること。
What you doing?
人間早くなんか殺させろ。
Oh, wow.
足は血に飢えてるぞ。もし民間のデビルハンターに会ったり
公安大麻得意音歌でーす。
Okay, they've got a
って
badge.
言って手帳を見せれば嫌な顔して帰っていくよ。
A sour face? Why? Yeah,
何
it
か聞
doesn't
き
help,
たい
does
こ
it?
とがあったら早川くんに聞きな。
やろう。跳ね上がったな。
He purposely did it.
パワーと組ませて俺を活躍させないようにして俺を辞めさせる気なんだ。
血の匂いじゃ。
Okay. Cool music. Could they not? Could they not have a headband for horns? Like, sure, you'd be able to get away with that, right? Jesus. Whoa. Whoa. Jesus Christ. Guy at mallet out of her own blood. Den's like, what the fuck? Okay. Okay, episode 2. Been introduced to a couple more characters. And yeah, so I don't know where to start. I mean, I find it really... I think sort of the main talking point of the episode was probably about kind of like end goals, I guess. You know, like the first episode and all of it, like being dreams and whatnot, and we already knew what Denji's dream was, and it was relatively like, it was just normal, you know what I mean, to live a normal life. But that's where it, like, you know, why I think it's definitely interesting and a different sort of take on a protagonist, really, because you find that, like, in like, you know, the vast majority of stories, the protagonists tends to have a sort of a more like complicated sort of like, you know, either it's backstory or they have like reasons for doing this and that, and it's you know, it's a lot to take in. But like the thing is with Denji, because he has basically lived a life that has been essentially like a gutter rat. The relative nature of like a dream or an end goal for Denji is a very normal one compared to, you know, Aki with his, you know, whether it's revenge that he's after because, you know, like Devil's killed his whole family and whatnot. And I think that's something that, like, you know, Denji's like, well, he was almost asking himself, like, you know, what is my end goal? Turns out it's going to be boobs, which, you know, I mean, fair enough, you know what I mean? I can get on board with it because, to be honest, it makes sense. Like, even just the little goal that he had against that fiend, which we'll talk about, ended up just being for the pawn. Because if he turned it to Chainsaw Man, blood would have got everywhere, and the pawn mags would have been destroyed. You know, pretty much unusable. So, yeah, it's just very... It is very just like straightforward and you know, such a simple thing to get behind, but I mean it totally makes sense within his like situation. So yeah, I think we'll get straight into the fiends then. So the fiends are devils that have taken humans, so they're basically like taken over humans, and that they have characteristic heads, so things that make them stand out, obviously. At the end there, we do have one that is in our unit, so she's called Power. She is a fiend. Yeah, she's got an interesting personality. One where clearly the devil that is like, or the, you know, the fiend side or whatever, clearly is more in control, as opposed to, you know, Denji being like that sort of devil-human hybrid. Where he has sort of like two modes, where he can be that human but he can also turn into the devil. It seems like Power is almost stricken to like that kind of that side of her. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting sort of dynamic in the group, and it makes sense why this is the experimental unit. I mean, it must have. I was thinking because like, well, this must have been something that was like very very recent. Like almost like this unit must have been put together like almost like 5 minutes ago. Because I was thinking, oh, it's an experimental unit, strictly revolving around Denji. But then when you realise that there's another sort of like devil-like person within the group, which is Power, that, I mean, depending on how long she's been around, I can't remember if they said how long she's been around. I know that with Aki, he's been there 3 years prior, right, to Denji coming. So, you know, I don't know how long Power's been there, but regardless, the unit must have been built around with like Power, like basically built around her, and then all of a sudden they find Denji, and he's perfect to kind of jump into this experimental unit. I wonder as well with Power, because at the end there she kind of formed a blood hammer. If it's somewhat similar to Denji in the form of, because Denji was basically fainting, right, towards the like sort of like beginning of the episode, because he said that like the chainsaws like cut him up as well. Like, I noticed from his head, I think it's different, but like strictly the chainsaws on his arms, like they go through the middle of his hands, right? So I think that's where if he's Chainsaw Man, he's actually losing blood there, and I think that's what it means. I could be wrong. Let me know if you know, in the comments below if I'm wrong there. But I mean, the subtitle said that they cut him up and he lost a lot of blood, so therefore that's where the fainting started. So I wonder if similar to that with Power and her, like, you know, using essentially blood to form a hammer, if that is also decreasing her blood to do that, and then therefore they're very similar, Denji and Power, in that regard, that like that kind of power can only be used for like basically putting a limit on it, right? Because obviously that's something we need to know going into the future, that like, you know, that Denji can't just be Chainsaw Man for an infinite amount of time, right? There has to be obviously a limit to where he can go to, so that it's not just, you know, you can't just go at it forever, because then you can put a stamp on what the power limits are, right? I like the fact that it is funny that like the crossover of Denji essentially in the first episode being treated like a dog by the Yakuza and everything like that. I'm pretty sure this, like in the subtitles, actually in the first episode, the Yakuza dude, when he was in the car, actually referred to him as a dog. And then obviously, you know, Denji actually gains a dog, obviously in the form of a devil, but you know, Pochita's a dog. And then Pochita sacrifices himself, becomes a part of Denji, and then going forward in his life, he still remains a dog. You know, like it's just like it's weird. It's like almost like you must be thinking like it's almost fate that like I have to be a dog in this world. But the difference being is that from episode 1 to episode 2, episode 1 he's in the gutter, episode 2 it's almost like his dream is practically true. I mean, he literally says like in this episode that like it's like my dreams come true already, you know what I mean? Like, it's not particularly an end goal, but that's what we're talking about. Like, it's a very simple dream that he had because of how relative it was compared to his life before. Whereas if he'd just grown up normally like Aki did, then obviously that, like, his dream or whatnot surrounding his circumstances obviously go beyond just a normal life as opposed to what Denji's is. But Denji is totally fine with it, especially considering the fact that like Makima has essentially got him wrapped around her little finger, like in the space of like 2 seconds. You know what I mean? Like it took absolutely nothing. I find it funny how he was like going back and forward, you know what I mean? I love her. Oh my god, she's scary. You know what I mean? But oh, she's nice. It's like this dynamic of like she's nice, but she's scary and sadistic. But I just wonder, because Makima was also the one that saved Aki, right? And Aki obviously has feelings for her as well. Or if he doesn't have, I don't know, because it could be one way or the other. It could be that he does have feelings for her, or it could be the case of like he has such a high image of Makima because she saved his life, that she, like, he thinks that she deserves somebody much better than essentially what he sees Denji as like this low life kind of gutter rat kind of person, right? Yeah, could be either or on that. And I think I would actually say that the latter suits his character more, I think, because he's a bit of a more of a like kind of like a proud kind of, you know, kind of guy. So yeah, and I just wonder if Makima, if she is being sadistic for the sake of, like, if that is something she is putting on, like, you know, to try and force the likes of Denji under her, like, kind of being in control, right? Like, you're a dog to me, essentially, right? And I'll look after you. But I wonder if she's purposefully putting that sort of control, like putting it publicly, so that the higher ups in the organization can see that she is in control. Because at any, like, obviously the higher ups, it's kind of similar to Attack on Titan with what happened with Eren in season 1, right? Like, they needed Levi to be sure that at any time he can take out like the one who's in control is the Survey Corps, right, and not Eren. It's kind of like a similar kind of situation I can imagine, where Makima needs to show that she is in control of this situation, because the higher ups are looking for any excuse to, like, essentially exterminate any devil, even if it's a devil human hybrid. Which, interestingly, Makima actually talked about that, like, you know, that this is something that has, like, never happened before, and it doesn't even have a name. So, like, the first devil human hybrid that they've come across is legitimately Denji, because I guess devils and whatnot, they tend to be more on the you know, the malevolent side, as opposed to benevolent, right? Like Pochita was, because, you know, otherwise you could see there being a lot more instances of possibly devil human hybrids if the devils were actually friends with humans. But it was just one of those cases, I think, where the fact that, you know, Denji at a young age was essentially looked at as a dog, and like Pochita met with Denji, like, during that phase, it almost like put them on an even, like, a level playing field, you know. And obviously it helped that, you know, Pochita was injured and was able, like, Denji was able to help. But I think that, you know, the fact is that generally in this world, humans stay well the fuck away from devils if they can, and it doesn't matter how cute they look. Like Pochita, I think, regardless if they get any sort of sense of, you know, whether it's visual or whatever of a devil, they're kind of just like, their first instinct is to just get away, right? Whereas, like, Denji was, like, pretty much at an all-time low. So, like, it's almost like he was, like, on that sort of level where he was thinking, you know what I mean, oh god, it's like, I'm that low, I could die. But then when he was, you know, helping out Pochita, it's like, I don't want to die anymore, right? So it, like, kind of put them on a level playing field, which is why Denji is, like, this special case, and why like human devil hybrids haven't been, like, is a new thing, and it's not you know, hasn't been seen before. They talked about there is I can't remember what they said, if it was 1,000, like over 1,000. I mean, I'd be very surprised if they had exactly 1,000, but it's basically around 1,000 devil hunters they have. They work with police as well. The police actually knew about Aki beforehand, but there was an encounter with the police later on where it was just Denji and Power, and, you know, in the background Makima's talking, like, if you ever get into this situation, you know, you show this badge and whatnot. And then it was like where the police were actually, you know, they walk away with, like, a sour face, and I don't know, I wonder why. Because, like, I'm thinking a couple of things in regards to that. I don't know if it's a case of, like, the police know strictly about this unit, and that there is, you know, and that, you know, Denji is a human devil hybrid. You know, I mean, Aki didn't even know. There was rumors going around, but he didn't even know until Makima taught him. So I don't know if it's just rumors that they think that, but they specifically told like power and whatnot, like to go along the rooftops, because like fiends, they have those characteristic heads, and she obviously has the horns, which I feel like, I mean, can you not disguise that as a headband, right? Like a hairband, like surely you can do that, right? Because it's not as obvious as the one dude who had like these pincer things that, like, you know, coming off his like his cheeks and whatnot. So I feel like you could disguise that, but I wonder if the police are in on the whole thing, because they obviously have a connect, like a relationship with the Devil Hunter, like HQ, and you know, the public safety and whatnot. I don't know if they're like if they're involved in the whole thing, so they know. But I just find it interesting the fact that they mentioned that the police would walk away with a sour face. It's just a bit interesting. Or if it's just a case of like they don't like the Devil Hunters. You know, I don't know. Like if it makes like, I wonder if like the police kind of like as a whole, as a, you know, as an organization, maybe think that the Devil Hunters like kind of look down on them, so they kind of like, you know, yeah, I don't know if it's kind of more like that, but it is an interesting concept anyway. Yeah, so God, what else? Working together until Denji dies. Yeah, like it's funny that I decided to react to Jujutsu Kaisen like just before Chainsaw Man came out, and then start reacting to this. Somebody did actually say, I'll see if I can get it up, because there was a comment on the last episode that I did. Let's see. Yeah, so I got a comment from a watcher, a viewer, last week. I'll not say your name because I don't know if you want to know. But the basically it's like this manga. So obviously, you know, Chainsaw Man and whatnot is regarded as 1/3 of what fans call the dark trio of shonen. So it's, you know, Jujutsu's one of them, Chainsaw Man's another, and then Hell's Paradise, which is apparently coming out next year. So yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that beforehand, before getting this this comment. But I just find it interesting that there are similarities there between the all, like the idea that you know, in Jujutsu it's very much a similar situation, right? I'll not like spoil it any more than that, just in case people haven't watched Jujutsu who are watching Chainsaw Man. But there is a similar situation, and those that are watching Jujutsu or have seen Jujutsu know what I mean. So yeah, I find that very, very interesting. But yeah, I mean, it does put sort of Denji in a situation that, you know, he kind of does have to go along with orders, and he can't really go out of his way to, you know, too much. You know, I imagine there probably will be circumstances where he goes a bit, because this is the thing, like when he's Chainsaw Man, it's not entirely known yet how much control he has when he's Chainsaw Man, right? Because I mean, he can talk while he's in that sort of that form, but I don't know to what degree of control he had, because he went a bit mental in the first episode. But granted, that could just be the fact that he was just sick of like his life, and he had all this power, and he was just like, well, I'm going for it. But then it's a case of like, you know, how much madness can you really, like, you know what I mean? Like, how much chaos and anger are you going to let out next time, you know? Because if he can't fully control himself when he's in that form, it does put them in a bit of a situation where, you know, he can go a bit rogue, you know what I mean, while he's in that form, and then that puts pressure on, you know, this experimental unit and whatnot. I feel like you can have much more control over power than you can Denji in his Chainsaw Man mode. Possibly. I mean, we don't really know. There's no evidence for it. I'm just wondering if that is, like, you know, because this is the thing, like, I don't, like I said before, I don't know how long they've actually been with power. So, you know, you don't know to what extent, like, she can do something off the cuff and go rogue, but, like, they haven't really witnessed Chainsaw Man yet. Makima's seen him in his Chainsaw Man mode, but, like, you know, you haven't seen him in a fight yet. So, yeah, it'll definitely be interesting when that first, like, pops up, when, like, they're with their group or whatever, and something kicks off and he becomes Chainsaw Man. Just to see, like, obviously what he's capable of and how much control he actually does have. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I do wonder to what degree as well fiends are, like, people who are totally gone, you know, because obviously they talked about it as, like, fiends are devils that have essentially taken over humans. But to what degree? Like, does that mean that, like, the human is completely gone and that's it? You know? I can't remember what Aki said on the subtitles. Because if it's just taken over a human body as opposed to, like, an alive human, then I don't know. But, it says when a devil takes control of a human corpse. Okay, right. So it's a dead human then. Okay, never mind then. Because I was about to ask if there was a case that could be made for, you know, I was just wondering if we were going to get, like, a backstory on power, but I guess not. I mean, unless this was a one of those circumstances where, I don't know, like, Aki or Makima turned up. Like, however they found power, right? I don't know if it's like a similar situation as to how they found Denji or whatnot, you know. But it is an interesting concept, because if a devil is taking control of a human corpse, then whatever that devil was that took over power had to be. I think they said, like, something about personality, didn't they? The devil controls a fiend's personality. See, I don't know really what that means. Because as a fiend, I guess, because it could be said as, like, the devil controls the once human's personality, and then it's like a case of, oh well, okay, you can kind of see how power is a bit more friendly, or she kind of lands more on kind of like the good side as opposed to, like, the devil side, right? Because then because then it's interesting, because then it's like, well, how much intelligence do devils have? You know, like, because put it this way, why would a devil purposefully, if they, like, you know, because each of these devils have, like, their own kind of weird thing anyway. I mean, in this episode we had the sea cucumber one, right? Like, what benefit do they get out of taking a human corpse and making, you know what I mean? Like, what's the benefit to that? Is it, like, the hope that they can just blend in with society, kind of? But then, you know, the human characteristics and whatnot, like, obviously some are more obvious than others. We've been through that, you know what I mean? Get the hairband power, and then you'll be fine. But I don't know, because she's got, like mad eyes as well, so maybe the eyes give it away. Get contacts. So, you know what I mean? Easy. I don't know if there's anything other than the fact of, like, you know, she can get away with it. I'm sure, like, people who've read the manga or whatnot will probably know if that is a thing that occurs, but I just feel like you can get around that with her, as opposed to the other fiend we saw in this episode. But, like, yeah, I just wonder if, depending on the, like, on Devil's intelligence, how much, like what is the benefit of taking over a human corpse? And also, is it possible for the devil to remove themselves from the corpse? I don't know, because that will be interesting, because then it's just like a case of, like, if any point power, the devil inside there decides to come out, that'll be interesting. But, you know, we'll see going ahead. But anyway, that is all I've got. Yeah, some interesting discussion from this episode. I really enjoyed that. Can't wait for next episode. I'm really enjoying this series so far. So yeah, keep an eye out for the next one, of course, next week. You know, I've put these down so they're going to be like Thursday every week, okay? So so keep an eye out for it. But anyway, yeah, that is all I've got. Of course, with the link in the description below, you can get over to my Patreon page, which gives you access to different tiers. Like early access gives you access to shows a week early, things like Jujutsu and House of the Dragon and whatnot, and also Blue Lock, which will be coming tomorrow. There's also the full-length tier, of course, where you can watch my reactions in full and not just the cut versions. Then there is the exclusive tier, which gives you access to full-length movie reactions and things like that. Of course, as I've said previously on other videos and whatnot, I will be reacting to the My Hero Academia third movie soon. And of course, after I finish up the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, I will be watching the movie for that as well. So keep an eye out for those. But anyway, that is all I've got. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.